where we will discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of employees, discuss non-renewal of term contracts from Katinga, discuss duties of the superintendent, employment, appointment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of administrative personnel, during school services versus Elm ISD status report, consult with attorney regarding oversight committees for school transcripts, consult with attorney regarding board policies and procedures, and discuss procedures for appointment of officers.
Madam President, since we don't have a secretary, can we move, I actually move that we go ahead and approve the board officer elections before going into closed session to make sure that we're conducting a proper meeting. Yes.
I believe in the absence of a board secretary, the vice president is permitted to take on those duties.
The-
Well, you said when somebody seconded, right?
we have a second, but we do have someone that is started the
I second
minutes.
motion.
We have a first and a second. Do we have any discussion? I would like to add for the record that we do, even with the first and the second, we do have a secretary, an acting secretary, at the moment, so the minutes are being started. But if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of moving the, moving item E of the, when the open, moving item E, the approval of board officer elections to the first item. All those in favor? Any opposed? Who opposed? Motion carries. So that's the item on the agenda. At this time, we will have officer elections. I'd like to make the nomination for Cooper Begas for president.
I guess I second the nomination for Cooper Begas.
Is there any discussion? Any further nominations?
So, discussion, right, help me understand, so when we're discussing this, we're talking about a board president to oversee, be the board's, speak for the board. With all respect to Dale, like, in his passion and his eagerness, I've been around the board for 4 years, and being a board president carries a responsibility, and it carries, someone needs to have been in a position for at least 2 years on the school board before you want to be president. That would be my advice. That would be my recommendation. Having served with Cooper, well, we got on at the same time, I would put Cooper even before myself, because I know his passion, and I know he studies the information of school board. Now, DeLeon for vice president has a better ring to it. To come on and lead a school board immediately, I think that could cause a public stir, inside and outside of the board. That's just my opinion.
I think you look at board president, there's really two components to that. At the end of the day, the board president has no additional powers, no more or no less authority than anybody else on the board. One aspect of the board president is simply to run meetings, an administrator and facilitator of meetings. That is something that, I'm not saying anybody can do it, though, that's administrative. So there's one administrative side of the board, being the board president. And then to your point, Chris, there is certain leadership that needs to be accounted for there. I think there's a lot of goodwill that goes forward with a board president that has a connection with the staff, the teachers, the principals. staff, others in the community as well. I think we need somebody as board president, of course, I'm advocating for myself here, that does have the, you know, the experience within the school district, that knows how to work with the superintendent, that instills trust in the staff, and I think I do bring that to the table. So, two sides to it, that's my perspective.
And I will add, again, last but not least, it's certainly nothing personal against Mr. De Leon. I think certainly if you know, in the role of the vice president would be absolutely fine because all of our positions here are one-year term positions. Considering the fact that he does run for election again next year, and if he doesn't win, then the board is left without a president before the end of the term. That could cause a problem. Considering the fact that none of the new board members have gone through any of the board training yet, to have a president that has not gone through the board training, running the meetings and potentially setting the district up for liability whenever they haven't received the proper training yet, I'm only looking out for the district and our children. And that is our role as a trustee, to do what is best for the district. I have worked side by side with Mr. Vigas, the board president. Mr. Vigas is right, there has no more power. It only takes any board member and a second board member to make a motion. 4 board members can pass any motion out there. So the board president just runs the meetings. The board president has a lot of meetings, a lot more than anybody else does. But it is up to the board president to know the policies and to set the tone. And the board president meets with a lot of the staff, a lot of the principals, a lot of the, you know, the superintendent, and the goodwill of the community. And I think Mr. Vigas will do an outstanding job. And I think it's a position that in the future that Mr. De Leon can do an outstanding job with, or any other board member as well. But I think coming in on the first meeting with no prior experience as board president is a mistake.
So I nominate, you know, and I have complete faith that he's capable. I think both of you indicated that it's mostly administrative role. You both said, I don't see one.
I think a good word for that, Mr. Flores, respectfully, sir, would be a largely part of it is administrative, right? There are other parts that were missed, right? There are relationships. There's a lot of knowledge in being board president, and you get that knowledge by serving and being here. Again, I'm going to say this openly since we opened it up in front of everybody. There's been no training for the new board members. I respectfully ask you guys to think about what you're doing and the message you're sending to our public. You have a lot of passion, but you're going to do things the right way or we're going to all suffer for it. That's what we're going to see.
So, I've heard a lot of discussion, I guess I have an opportunity to speak. And I'm here for a reason. I'm here because the community selected me here. They selected me. They had a voice in determining who they wanted on their board and how they wanted their board to operate, which I appreciate very tremendously. Interesting enough, you've been in a lot of experience. How many of you here have been in the military? So none of you have commanded military troops in the guards, or have you been shot at in the military guards, which requires a great deal of discipline, understanding, and knowledge under serious conditions. So the question is, would I take this forward seriously? Of course I do. That's the reason I'm here. Do I have experience? The question is, and was raised, my experience as a leader. Well, I sit on the planning and zoning board as a vice chair. I've been there for several years. I also spend a great deal of time with CEOs, CFOs, CIOs, and directors of larger organizations, AT&T, Raytheon, etc. Actually guiding them and helping them to do things in their organizations. Understanding the organization and understanding what needs to happen. as a person of communication in the organization. So the roles are filled already and done in many years. So my experience is none less than if you were just joining the board. Now, true enough, I don't have the board training, but of course I will get the board training. That's a requirement. So if the ideal is experience, the ideal is capability, the ideal is community relations, and community relations put me here. Capability put me here. Responsibility of serving my country put me here. So that's why I'm here. Because apparently the community spoke to the tune of over 800 and something voters, which is one of the most we've ever seen in Little Elm, and it's historic in nature. So to your point, do I know a lot of people here? I meet a lot of people here. Spoke to a lot of people. Been to a lot of homes, and most of you who know me know I spend a lot of time listening to a lot of people. And that's what I do. Listen and make good judgments. So that's to speak for myself.
I appreciate your candor, Mr. Damian. Let me remind you that everybody that is on this board is here because the public voted for them, same as they voted for you. So the public spoke for every individual member on this board. We were all elected just like you were. We all have our own individual backgrounds. Many of us have worked with CEOs, heads of corporations. We may not be in the military. I work with the military, I do federal contracts. Your background is certainly impressive, and I applaud, and I think that's what makes this board the diverse professional board that it is. And that's what makes it a great board, and potentially an even better board, is what every individual brings to the board. I can tell you my background in corporate America. I came here thinking I've been on the board before, I've worked with CEOs before, I have a healthcare background. This isn't anything new to me. I know what I'm doing. And I can tell you that education is completely different than the corporate world. It's completely different than the military world. And it runs its own rules, and you can't approach it the same as you would in corporate America. You can't approach it the same as you would any other aspect of government. And if you do, it will be disastrous. I can tell you that this last week, as board president, I have received more calls and more complaints and more nervous parents in this district because of the things that they are hearing of the unknown and the things that are being said, and more people worried about their jobs. And I am so glad that we have different ideas, and I applaud the different concepts, and change is wonderful, and we all come in with different ideas, and I think we can all work together, and I think it's fabulous. But the idea is to work together in a professional manner, not in a manner where we're bullying employees and making them terrified for their jobs. These are our kids we're talking about. So I think you have, again, I applaud you for your background. I think you're a great leader. I think we're all great leaders in our own right. And again, if you want to run for president, absolutely. That's what we're all here individually to do. I would absolutely support you as vice president, but I needed to make it public and say my piece. But please don't disrespect everybody in here who's voted, because the public voted us for the same reasons that they voted for you.
And that's not a disrespect, that's just an observation, right? I didn't think anyone else would think it was just. But yes, I would like to be president.
Is there any further discussion?
Since we have two nominations, how are we gonna vote?
We gonna vote, all those in favor for,
Technically, the first nomination should have been discussed and acted upon before the second.
So I think, and if I missed it, correct me, son, I think I seconded Cooper, and I didn't hear a second for, Mr. English. I apologize. It was seconded? Okay. My apologies.
okay, so this time we're gonna the election for Mr. De Leon for president. So all those for Mr. De Leon as school board president for Little Elm ISD, raise your hand. Any more votes? Any opposed? 3 votes. Motion carries.
Withdraw yours, nothing matters.
Yeah, at this point, I guess I withdraw my motion because it's a moot point. Next item on the agenda would be to,
Nominations.
I know, to nominate,
I think at this meeting.
oh, you're right.
At this point, we'll open nominations for vice president. Any motions for vice president? Nomination for Leanna Hardy, is there a second? There's a second. Any discussion? All those in favor for Leanna Hardy for vice president, raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion carries. Leanna Harding is vice president. Next item on this is nominations for secretary.
I nominate Alex Flores for secretary.
Is there a second for Alex Flores for secretary?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor of Alex Flores for secretary, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda. Now, we're over with the elections. Next item on the agenda. The board recessed into closed session in conference room as permitted by the Texas Open Meetings Act, subchapter 551.074 and 551.071. The board and superintendent